Tennessee Wildcast is live on the air with the latest on hunting, fishing, boating, and all things outdoors. Make welcome your host, drummer and outdoor expert novice, Jason Harmon.
All right. Hello, everybody, and welcome to this edition of Tennessee Wildcast. Thank you all for tuning in, and we're looking forward to today's show. As you can see behind me, if you're watching on Facebook or YouTube, we are not at our home studio in Nashville.
It looks a little weird.
We are on the road again. So we're at Union University in Jackson, Tennessee, and we've got a couple special guests with us today. We have Jack and One-Eyed Willie.
It's One-Eyed Willie, and there's Jack, and we don't want to get him wound up right now.
But they're the stars of the show, but our special guest, Mr. Dr. Huggins and Dr. J.R. Kerfoot. So we appreciate you guys.
Well, thanks for coming.
Well, we're glad to be here.
Thanks for
with you.
Yeah, thanks for opening up your classroom here and being with us to talk about rehabbing wildlife.
Well, you know, that is one of the most common questions we get asked is somebody has an injured animal and what do we do and who do we contact? And it's not call the game warden. We actually have licensed rehabilitators.
You don't call Amy?
No. We have licensed rehabilitators that you can find on our website. And as I say, contact the closest one near you and talk to them.
Yes.
So, and that's what we're going to talk about, what it's like to be a rehabber.
Yeah, that's it's easy to find that list on our website. It's right under the law enforcement tab.
Yep, just go to the law enforcement tab, click on it, and then you'll see it.
There's a list there, and also for information on how to become a licensed rehabber and that kind of thing.
Yep.
So we're going to try to cover all that today, plus cover what these guys do and learn a little bit about these winged friends of ours that are here today. And it should be a fun show.
Yep.
Thanks to Amy for being the co-host today and jumping in there and lining this show up. So we appreciate it.
Well, you know, I met Dr. Huggins when I came to Jackson in 2000 as an officer, and I had to make the phone call. Hey, I've got something for you. And at that time, you were still doing it at your house.
I was for a long time. After I kind of got into the falconry scene, I realized that I was more concerned about the birds that were injured. I was concerned about putting them back in the wild and just being near the birds than I really was about hunting with the falcons. Even though I'm still a licensed falconer, I tried to do the rehab thing, and of course the birds of prey were closest to my heart. We actually are licensed to do Class 2 animals, excluding skunks, bobcats, and bats. But we try to specialize on these raptor friends of ours. There aren't quite as many people around that have a federal permit as well as a state permit. And so when you've got your PhD in biology, it generally goes easier, and that's kind of what...
But it's still a complicated process.
Oh, it is.
And getting the facility set up here in, I think, 2002,
right.
You had to jump through some hoops and some hurdles.
Oh, with both the state and with the federal government. They made me, even though I had, like I said, the PhD with wildlife biology kinds of material, to go through 200 hours, which is what they typically ask everybody to do.
And that is why we stress to the public, these aren't animals that you take home. This is why we want licensed, trained professionals rehabbing these animals.
Yeah. The first time, as I was doing my 200 hours, I'll just tell a story real quick. I was working at Natchez Trace, and the young lady that I was working with, she handed me a glove, and she said, go in and get that bird. And I looked, and it was a female, and I'm sure it's a female because of the size, but it was a great horned owl. And I said, okay. And so I went in, and a little bit later I came out with a bird, and she said, you're the first person that's ever done that the first time. Because this bird just knew, that, hey, he was going to rip my head off any moment. But I wasn't about to take no for an answer. He got finally on the glove and came out. So
this is why we call them 9 fingers and not 10.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, actually, you said the other day that great horns are the ones you don't like to deal with.
I've been forked by them a couple times going through the glove. You
said they're always aggressive.
They're always aggressive, and there's lots of power in those legs. And
this little guy was trying to get you earlier.
Oh, yeah, he was. He did not like being messed with. Of course, we woke him up to bring him here, but I'd rather take him than that great horned owl.
Yeah. Tell us about him real quick while we're talking about him.
He's got a neat story.
Well, this little guy showed up one day actually with his head in the grill of a truck. And I thought there's no way in the world that we'll ever bring this bird back to a point that we could release. And I was right on that. But I thought he just wouldn't even survive, even with, I mean, they had hit him miles away from here and drove, even though after they realized it, drove him here to get
in the
him
grill.
out.
We have a picture of it.
That's right.
Yeah, we're going to try to. Yeah, there we go.
In the grill, and so once here, I gingerly extracted him, and we got him to our vet and looked at him, and he lost an eye. But today he's making, he's made a lot of children, a lot of students here at Union University happy. As we use him as an education bird.
And hence the one-eyed Willie name.
That's right,
yeah.
one-eyed Willie. Yeah.
So.
And a lot of these birds that y'all work with, we try to get them back into the wild, right? But sometimes
that's y'all's purpose. It's not to make pets out of them. It's a rehab facility.
You don't want a pet owl. They don't make good pets at all. They're
even though Harry Potter has said that
Harry Potter has just ruined things for us. Everybody thinks they need one.
You're always cleaning up them owl pellets.
That's exactly right.
The other end too.
It comes out the mouth and it comes out the back end, and it's always not pretty, but they are
not on Harry Potter.
They are great birds. Now I don't want to put them down on that, but they're not the best pet. You can come up with a much better pet if you want a pet, and so that's actually illegal to try to make them a pet too. And many people don't understand that, and hence we get imprinted birds in occasionally as well. Most of the birds that come in are probably car accidents. I tell them not to drive, but they no. People hit them. They get out in front. They are not afraid to do carrying things on the road. It's just an easy food
meal.
trip. Yeah, an easy meal.
Yeah, and the big goal behind the rehab facility is to rehab them and get them released back into the wild.
Exactly.
And so that's our main goal. A much secondary goal is to do an educational outreach with these birds, and we do have 3 full-time educational birds that we can take out to local schools.
Willie, we have Jack, and then there was one more that's another one-eyed owl.
A barred owl.
It's a barred owl. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and so but our main purpose with this rehab facility is to get them well enough to release back into the wild.
Now that does require separate permits. You have to have an education permit for those birds that are going to be kept as educational birds, and then you have to have a rehab permit for the animals, at least for the classes of animals that you're going to serve. And like I said, here we try to specialize in raptors, but hopefully there'll be a few others around that will do the little baby mammals and all those cute little guys.
Yeah, that's one we get a lot of questions on. And one thing that I always said, first of all, what is it? And if it was a bird, okay, we need to call Union. And then we have some others here in Jackson that do different animals. We get a lot of calls for baby skunks, and they cannot be rehabbed. And the other day, actually, we called you. We actually had one on bats. Somebody had some bats, and no, we do not rehab those. So.
And it's best to leave those young guys alone.
Well, that's one thing we were going to talk about. Like if someone calls us, we always tell people to put it back. Whatever animal it is, let's put it back.
Give it some time.
If it's a baby bird and it's hairless, put it back in the nest. Give it some time. If it's a bird that's got feathers and it's on the ground, it's a fledgling. They're supposed to be on the ground. Mama will come and feed it. But I've heard people say that we're rude and we're not nice when we tell them that, but this is the honest world of Mother Nature, and we have to put the animal back. We have to give it time. And you all tell people give it
usually 24 hours if it's not an immediate injury that you could see. If it's been hit by a car and you could tell it's been hit by a car, then we're going to try to take care of it as fast as possible. But if it's fallen out of its nest, that doesn't mean Mother has gone away. She's probably just hanging out somewhere till it's safe, and she's going to come close. We do get that from a lot of people who call us. TWRA, they have no hearts. Because they don't want to help me out. Well, no, there's a purpose, and they know. TWRA knows.
Know what we're doing.
Yeah, exactly.
Thank you.
They're the experts in the area, and the listening audience should listen to you guys.
People want an answer. And a lot of times they don't get the answer that they want from us. And so therefore bluntness turns into rudeness, which is not what's going on. We want to do what's best for the animal, not what you think is best, but we want to do what's best for the animal.
And believe me, the best is to have a mother take care of it. A mother can do much better than we can in taking these little ones to the point where we can introduce them back into the wild. And we do our very best to do that. We have puppets and on down the line. If
so
you
you're
want to reach
I'm
back
watching Jack. I don't want him to
Jack's
pounce
watching
on
you,
my
don't
head.
worry.
Yeah.
You're
We
a
have we have
puppeteer
little
as well.
Puppet. Yeah.
That's exactly right. One of our art students helped us with this. I think they went to a local store and found something like this, opened it up, and so what that does is allow us again to feed the bird. Dr. Kerfoot's got his hand in there. We can feed the bird, maybe taking a cardboard piece of cardboard, putting it in front of the bird so that they don't really see us, and then we use something like this.
Kind of like hiding.
Exactly, so that they
Willie's
think
like,
mother's
"What?"
feeding them. Yeah. Now, I will say that when we use these kinds of things on owls and on hawks, doesn't matter if it's a buteo or an accipiter, they don't typically notice what's going on. But every time we've ever done a vulture, I've never had a vulture that at some point wasn't peeking around the cardboard to see what was on the other side of it.
Over there?
They're just intelligent birds. They're really trying to figure out what's going on.
They really are.
So, like you said, you don't want to imprint. That's the reason for the puppet, and
Exactly.
You don't want them to see the human, or
And it's good to know the behavior behind those guys, the different hawk or falcon or
Or
owl
like what you were saying earlier. We were talking about this before the show. Someone feeding owl popcorn.
Yeah, popcorn. So very few birds eat popcorn, and if they do eat popcorn, that's only by mistake.
they're around the movie theater.
Yeah.
So-
Well,
Exactly.
no,
Those are the crows.
this was an
those are-
owl, so
Yeah, so knowing who the raptors are, those are the ones, the meat eaters, the birds of prey. And so knowing that an owl does eat meat is very important for the greater public, hence why we do educational outreach too.
Yeah, and you were talking about imprint. Jack is actually an imprint. Jack came to us thinking he's a human, and he tries to court everybody. He's looking for a mate.
really, because he's been pretty rude today.
Yeah, he does. I promise. He really thinks that he's a human, and so you don't need to raise these birds as if they're one of the family because they think they are. And then when you try to put them back in the wild, they're not going to survive. So you're not doing them any favors to try to make a
this
human
also
out of them.
plays over into deer. We see this a lot of times, and I'm going to bring that up with deer. Just putting a collar on it and letting it run around your neighborhood is not a good thing because then we have accidents that happen. We had a lady one time in Memphis that got basically she went outside and a spike punctured her lung. He attacked her. So I mean, just so you think it's friendly and it's cute, they
Until
are
it's
wild
not.
animals, and when
right.
they grow up, instincts take over and bad things happen.
Yeah.
Well, and that's just it. Even though Jack is imprinted, we're his sole source of food, as it were. But we'll put him out in the flight cage, and he'll still call, looking for mates during breeding season, and it's pretty neat to see. But again, we can release Jack right now. He'll go out that window. He'll fly. But when he got hungry, he might land on your head, not wanting any harm to be done
Hey,
to
I'm
you. He
hungry.
just, give me that burger, kind of thing.
In fact, another story, I've done this for a lot of years now. We had a great horn that came in that I thought we could put safely back into the wild, and we did finally get him back into the wild. But the first introduction into the wild, what he was doing was lighting in front of people's homes and screeching and wanting them to come out and feed him.
Wow.
And they thought there's something wrong with this bird. It's possessed
or rabies, which birds don't get rabies, but they don't
the
know
public,
that.
that's always the worst case scenario. Let's just,
So I went out and caught the bird again, brought him back, and today I let him go near my home so that if he couldn't survive, I could maybe bring him back and put him into an educational facilities, usually parks around the area. But even today, this has been at least, 5 years, I guess, later.
Oh, yeah.
I saw him just, within the week, I guess,
Wow.
light out in a tree, look down, and call to see if I'd give him food. Now, he's surviving. He's got a mate.
he was hungry.
But when he lights and he's hungry, he says, "Oh, there's old Dr. Huggins. He'll feed me." So, and he'll call, even though he does his own thing. I've had hunters in the area tell me that the bird would light, that there'd be an owl light near to them and call to them. And I know that's the bird. He's just saying, "Hey,
Got anything to eat?
yeah, you guys got a squirrel in your back pocket? If you got got some kind of meat, you can throw me something, So we did put him back in the wild, and he is doing well. But he's been forever changed again by the imprint or the partial imprint that he had.
So you said you've been doing this a number of years. How many years have you been doing this?
Well, again, I started before, 2002. I think we've had the facilities here since 2002. And so I've been doing, 17, 18, 19 years. I'm not real sure, somewhere in there.
Right.
When you get old, you forget how many years you've been doing these things.
Who's old? I don't see.
Well, thank you. What can I say?
We had a few nicknames they got earlier.
Yeah, we won't go into that.
Please don't.
What they're saying behind the scenes. Back
So, how many birds do you rehab a year? How many birds go through the program?
Well, it's varied a lot over the years, from close to 100, 80 to 100, and a few years. This last year, we've only been running probably half of that. By the time we finish the year, we're probably gonna be half of that. So it varies a great deal during the year. Some years you'll have colder weather, I think, and there's more birds migrating through. Some years, for some reason, it's probably high winds and storms that come through, and there's more birds on the ground, and they don't listen to us, and they pick them up and bring them.
Surprisingly, I was surprised we didn't get some phone calls after this weekend, because we had some pretty vicious weather.
My answer machine.
Yes.
Amy, we may yet, because they love to have them for a little while and feed them a few things. So we may yet get a barrage of
Well, I had the wood duck call last night, and I was really hoping, and that's what happened. They took the cute little wood duck in the house, and then the dog got a hold of it.
Even though it's illegal, they want to keep them and
they
feed
were
them for a
keeping
little
it
while.
in until we got there, and we just didn't get there.
And that's fine.
I was really hoping to have a little baby duck for you because you did have a turkey over there the other day.
Yeah, we did have a turkey.
But now you had some stats on the birds, like this year.
And so far this year, we've about 40% of those that have been taken in have actually either passed away or had to be put down. And that's kind of just the nature of this business. With the rehab, with the injuries so extensive, they might have to be put down. And we do get counseling from the local vet here on that kind of stuff. And other injuries are just way too extensive and they die in the process. But right now we have another 40% that are have either been released or are in different phases of rehab, hopefully to release. Yeah. And so those are pretty good statistics.
I've always heard you say it's about 50-50 when I've brought you something.
That's pretty close.
Yeah. And so, and then we have 3 educational birds and the like. And we've been able to rehome a lot of birds even recently this past month.
Oh, we put out 5 last month, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, 5 to different areas.
And so, we were home to licensed state parks and that sort of thing that have aviaries already. They have to have established, because we have to get, the big process is we have to get a letter from the vet saying it cannot be released, and then we have to go through permitting and licensing to then make sure that where these birds are going is
a licensed facility that's going to actually use them for education, and somebody that's not going to make them a pet. So.
Right. That's good information, because I know some people might be asking, what's the difference in rehome and release? Because I thought the wild was their home.
Sure.
Rehoming could be a little different.
Yeah.
That's good information. That's good information.
And that's one thing that you've got to understand when you do take an animal to a rehabber, that basically, let's just go with the 50-50 rule. Mm-hmm. It's got a 50% chance of making it. And then also one thing that they've got to understand is a lot of you all do this secondary. It's not your primary job. It's not your primary role. And
for Dr. Huggins, it's his tertiary job, I think.
Tertiary.
He's a pastor as well as a professor, and so he professes in science and in theology.
That's true.
And so, but yeah, this is kind of a labor of love for us. And I mean, the passion that Dr. Huggins exudes for the rehabbing of these raptors has caught me by surprise and attention, and my attention as well. And so
he was a fish guy.
I know.
I'm still a fish guy.
I know. The other day, because I've known you forever, and then you just came in about the time I left the officer role. So it's kind of just now I'm really getting to know you. And I'm like, what's a marine biologist doing here? What?
In the middle of Tennessee, for various reasons, yes.
We have another professor that we haven't got him on the road yet. It's extensive training, again. As the director, again, I'm always looking for somebody to help. And so Dr. Kerfoot is now, I think, what the feds would call the primary caregiver. We've got another young man that wants to step in as I retire, and Dr. Kerfoot becomes the director. And he was a wild hog man, effects of hogs on forestry, I think, and came out of Auburn. But he's also on fire for it now too.
Yeah.
So hey, maybe we're going to keep it going here.
I hope so.
I hope so too.
But we also want the public to know, once you give the animal to the professionals, let the professionals take over. Please don't be calling or wanting to come by and see. And that's something that, we're going to talk here later about the facility. And that's the point. We're trying to get these animals back to the wild, so we don't want people coming by and visiting with them. It's not that we, we thank you for getting it here, but let us do our job.
Right.
And
Yeah, we're going to try our darndest to let you know if you do a follow-up call. Don't expect us to do follow-up calls, but if you call us and ask how's it going,
but not every day.
Not every day.
Did Jackie
right, not
today?
Every day. Right. No, we
like-
know that you guys had called us and you're interested in it. You've invested some time, and so we want to help you out with that.
Even my husband, who trains horses, says, please don't call every day. I'll call you like once a week, because there's a lot that can happen in a day. So let's just wait and do
That's
the.
that's exactly right.
Well, a few points we've hit on a lot of this, but just want to re-hit on some of this. As a rehab facility, what do you want the public to know? What do you want the public to know?
Oh gosh, I would want them to know that we're here to help. That we are concerned about the wildlife, and we're trying to do a service for the wildlife, for TWRA, and for the public. And so we're really trying to reach out and do all of these things. We love the wildlife. We don't want it to suffer. And so sometimes, that 50-50 rule drops in. We also are under some strict rules. I've had people call and say, but the vet put the bird down. Why did the vet put the bird down? And it's the bird, yes, maybe could have survived, but if you have to amputate a wing very high, then that bird is not going to live a very good life. And so please don't be upset with us whenever federal rules or state rules or whatever would call
Or a
for us.
professional has had to make a very difficult decision.
Exactly. They don't like making that call either. But we've got a vet that I think she cries sometimes when she puts these things down. But sometimes we have no choice. So the other thing is to be wise about how you handle the wildlife.
Right.
If there's a way you can get the bird back in a nest, that's what you want to do. Don't do anything crazy with the bird. If he's hung up in a wire fence, then hey, get a professional out there because we get several in barbed wire fences. Get them out there and try to get this done. But be patient with us, and we're trying to do our best. And like you said, we're under a tight.
And you can get hurt by these animals.
Oh,
yeah.
can.
Because a lot of people don't realize that. They think, I'm trying to do something good for it. Well, the animal doesn't realize that. They also perceive you as a predator. So, yes, you can get attacked. Like you've been attacked here at the facility, but you can get hurt.
Occasionally birds are shot, and we're under federal guidelines to report those. And we want to do that. We don't want any of the birds damaged by somebody being crazy and stupid.
Well, we do have a success story about that. We were able to rehome last week one of the great horned owls that had shot pellet in it.
Oh.
And
Several, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, again, that was one of the big reasons why it couldn't be released out into the wild, even though it was fully functional. But we did have to, the vet said it's not wise. And so we found a home for it. So.
And I do want to bring up that you have a great story on your wife. When you do find these animals, there are certain ways you should get them, like in a carrier or a box to get them to transport them here. And we do ask the public usually for you to do it, and to get them to you all. And wait, it's against the law. Well, no, if we know you're going to a rehab facility or you're okay.
Right.
Yeah, all right.
Yeah.
So, but you've got to tell the story on your wife.
Well, again, you need to have gloves. You need to have a towel. You need to have a coat, something to put around something
Blanket.
that has talons like this.
A net works well.
yeah, Annette, we got dip net back
Kennel,
here.
yeah.
Yeah.
This is one of the most useful things we've had is a dip net.
Nobody ever
But
thinks.
if you got something like that. But again, my wife was following behind a car and suddenly saw a bird fly into the air and land, and she stopped and she picked up a barred owl. And she had a coat, but she looked at it and she said, this one is in such bad shape. I don't need to worry about this. So unwisely, she put the coat in the back seat and the bird in the floorboard in the front. And in just a few moments, she looked down there, and the bird was sitting on the seat beside her. And then the bird was on the dash of her vehicle, and she was on the phone calling me and saying, "Meet me halfway." But she had this a good idea. I wish I could say it was my idea, but it was her idea. Kathy reached up and turned on the dome light. And so the bird immediately, it was dark that night, and she so immediately focused on that bright light. And the bird rode in on the
Dash of the car.
dash of the car until I met them halfway and was able to put it in a carrier for safe transport. But it was a good story. The bird did have a broken wing, but it was something we could put back together, and it went back in the air. So I love to put them back in the air.
So that's why we always say, please put it in something.
That's right. That's
And
right.
if you put it in a box, make sure it's taped shut.
With holes in
Yes.
Yeah. Well, yeah,
Yes.
make sure the holes are in it. Yeah.
But yeah, make sure it's taped because they can
They'll
come
get
out.
out and see what's going on.
I bet that was scary for her to have an owl flying around your vehicle in the dark. It's kind of
Well, she's a biologist here at
Look
Union
out.
too, but it was kind of scary. She's not as into the birds.
You know,
as
who
I
really
am.
wants an owl right there flying around when you're trying to?
That's
How did you
exactly
rack?
right.
Well, you see, there was this owl. And
Yes, you don't want one to suddenly decide to sink those talons in you. Dr. Kerfoot can attest to
yeah.
that.
Oh,
so.
yeah.
What's real quick? We're going to run out of time, but what's one of the craziest stories that y'all have come across here at the office?
Oh,
wait, with the rehab facility.
With the
'Cause
rehab
I'm sure with the
facility.
Yeah, okay.
with the
Oh, I'm glad
students,
you put
there's-
that in there.
Yeah, because the students, that's probably a whole other subject.
Well,
That's a whole other show.
I learned to keep earplugs in my Suburban, and because I had a call that there were some barn owls back at they were up north of Milan in a silo, a grain silo, and so I got the call to go get it. Happened to be 7 baby barn owls. And if
Very
you've never heard a
loud.
barn owl scream, I got to hear it all the way from North Milan back to the rehab facility, and I didn't have any earplugs. So,
Some shooting
Yeah.
muffs would be great to keep
yeah,
in the truck.
oh yeah, and maybe a lot of people around here have those. I didn't.
I got you a set. I'll give you a set to
Oh,
throw in
thank
You
there.
would
very
think they
much.
were demon possessed. It
Oh,
is just, and if one screams, they
They
all
all
Oh yeah,
scream.
oh yeah, and it was a
It's like-
chorus.
like-
And Jack,
Jack
I
over here,
cannot
yeah.
believe you made it the whole. You're not.
Can you give us? There you go.
There, this is
There
what
you
he
go.
did earlier. We didn't think we were gonna. Yeah, the whole show he's been quiet, but earlier you've been just a. Yeah.
You did good, Jack.
Yeah, it was a great show.
Congratulations.
Great.
Yeah.
Thank y'all for being here and doing this with us, and we'll have you back for sure. One Eye Willie and Jack, thank you guys for being with us, and Amy, thanks for co-hosting. Appreciate you pulling this together. Thank y'all for watching. Thank you for listening. Hey, we're on Facebook, we're on YouTube, we're out there on iTunes, we're on Google Play. We're all over the place. Listen to this show, tune in, and get all the latest updates on Tennessee outdoor news. This is the place right here. So thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next time.
Thanks for tuning in. Stay connected with TWRA by visiting our website at tnwildlife.org and follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Hey, it's all about Tennessee wildlife. It's what we do. Tennessee Wildcast will be on the air again next week. We'll see you then.